Welcome back. In other stories, the courts across the country have been busy with different proceedings. Here are some of the top stories we're tracking.
We begin with the report that the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Mrs. Desiani Alison Madueke, and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, have filed a fresh suit before a federal high court in Abuja, seeking to restrain the National Assembly from probing her over the alleged 10 billion naira charter jet scandal. The plaintiffs are asking the court to declare that both the Senate and the House of Representatives lack the power to conduct any investigation into allegations of fraud, corruption, or criminal activities in agencies under the supervision of the minister. The Senate and the House of Representatives are the respondents in the suit, which follows an order given by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Aminu Tambuwal, directing the minister to appear before them for further probe of the jet scandal. The Petroleum Minister and the NNPC are also seeking an order of perpetual injunction restraining the National Assembly from summoning them to appear before the lawmakers for the purpose of giving evidence and or producing any document which relate to their unpublished official records without first obtaining the consent of the President. While Mrs. Alison Madueke waits for the Federal High Court Abuja to rule on her matter one way or the other, another judge of the court, Justice Gabriel Kolawole, last week Tuesday ruled on a matter involving the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. Justice Kolawole ruled that his court had no jurisdiction to entertain the suit filed by Mr. Sanusi Lamido Sanusi over his suspension from office. According to the judge, the CBN is a creation of the National Assembly, an agency of the federal government, the inference of which is that Malam Lamido Sanusi is an agent of the federal government. Justice Kolawole has therefore insisted that the suspension of the CBN governor is a labor-related issue which ought to be heard by the National Industrial Court, where the case has now been transferred. Staying with the Federal High Court, Abuja, another judge of the court, Justice Adeni Ademola, last week Tuesday, declared that it was unconstitutional for the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, to invalidate driving licenses and other vehicle documents which were yet to expire. Justice Ademola therefore declared as null and void the purported directive of the FRSC to the effect that all extant driving licenses as well as other vehicle documents would be invalid as from October 1 last year. The judge held that such a directive amounted to executive recklessness. This judgment follows an earlier one delivered by Justice John Soho of the Federal High Court, Lagos, on March 26, 2014, declaring that the FRSC had no powers to impose its newly introduced number plates on users because there was no existing law backing it. In Awka, the Anambra State capital, the Election Petition Tribunal, presided over by Justice Ishaq Bello, has adjourned indefinitely to consider its judgment in the 3 petitions filed before it. The decision to adjourn was reached last week Friday after the adoption of final addresses by parties in the petitions. The petitions are those filed by Senator Chris Ngige against the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), Governor Willie Obiano and the All Progressives Grand Alliance (APGA). The second was filed by Mr. Tony Nwoye against INEC, Obiano and APGA. The third petition was filed by the People's Democratic Party against INEC, Obiano and APGA. The petitioners, amongst other things, sought the disqualification of Governor Obiano from contesting the Anambra governorship elections on the grounds of alleged multiple registration. They also sought the nullification of the November 16, 17 and 30 elections on the grounds of alleged electoral malpractices. The petitioners insist that the voters' register displayed by INEC was not the same as that which was used for the conduct of the polls. From Awka, we move to Kaduna, where a former Chief Security Officer, Major Hamza Al-Mustafa, last week withdrew the libel suit he instituted against an Islamic cleric, Sheikh Sanusi Khalil, over allegations of defamation of character. The suit was withdrawn after a renowned Kaduna-based cleric, Sheikh Ahmed Gumi, and other prominent northerners brokered a truce between the former CSO and the cleric. Major Al-Mustafa had sued Sheikh Khalil, who he alleged had been preaching that the former CSO is training snipers to eliminate perceived enemies of President Goodluck Jonathan ahead of the 2015 general elections. Counsel to the former CSO says the defendant initiated the reconciliation process when he announced his apology in the same mosque where he earlier preached his sermon. And we round up on the foreign scene with the report that a court in Egypt has sentenced former President Hosni Mubarak to 3 years in prison after finding him guilty of embezzling public funds. His two sons, Alaa and Gamal, were also convicted and given 4-year terms. The three were also fined $3 million and ordered to repay the $17.6 million they were accused of stealing. 86-year-old Mubarak is also on trial for abuse of power and conspiring with others to kill some protesters during the 2011 uprising that forced him to resign. He was found guilty of the charge relating to the protesters in 2012, along with former Interior Minister Habib al-Adli, and sentenced to life in prison. But in January 2013, the Court of Cassation upheld an appeal by the two men against their convictions on technical grounds and ordered a retrial. The president's one-time heir apparent, Gamal, and Alaa, a wealthy businessman, are also being retried on separate corruption charges.
And now to the NBA and the impending elections. Some senior lawyers have been speaking about the electoral process and the kind of president the Nigerian bar needs. A few of them shared their views with Law Weekly.
The election has promised to be a leading example of what a free, fair and credible election will be. The Electoral Committee, headed by Oke Amechi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, is qualified. They are ready, from the reports we have received, they are ready to conduct an election which we expect that if our electoral bodies are serious, they should come and emulate what we are doing, the opportunities we are giving to lawyers to choose their leaders. And it's not only the president, they will elect 14 national officers for this great association. So we expect a free, fair and credible election.
We have argued that the NBA should zone its presidency to 6 zones: Northeast, Northwest, North Central, Southeast, Southwest, and South-South. And until that is done, we have 3 zones, which is Northern Region, Western Region, and Eastern Region. And all the candidates for this coming election are going to come from the Western Region. And I understand there are about 5 of them now. And it's going to be a very good competition. This is an issue that will not be determined at all by the West. I can assure you that. Whoever is going to win the coming presidency is going to be essentially a decision of the East and the West. A decision of the East and the North. It will not be determined by the West. And therefore, they have to work hard.
This is a very trying period for the country. Therefore, the NBA, as the foremost professional association, must put its acts together in order to get a president that will actually lead the association right in order to lead the nation right. This is the time for us to teach the Nigerian politicians the way to do things. So we must go for merit. We should leave off all clannishness. We'll leave off all attitude of mediocrity. We must go for the best. The Nigerian nation must realize the relevance of merit, because that is the only way we can enthrone justice. We cannot, as a professional organization, begin to shortchange ourselves, and at the end of the day, we think we are doing the nation any good. Nigeria is going through a very trying period, so we must get a president that is forthright, a president that is not ready to compromise the principles of democracy, the principles of justice and fair play. So we must get a president that is firm, a president that can tell the truth, speak to the nation the way things should go right. So I think that is the type of president we, as a professional association, should give to the nation.
Well, I think we expect the kind of president that we have today, but with more dynamism. President that has the NBA at heart, president that knows what leadership is all about. I mean, a kind of president that actually live up to expectations as to the yearnings of lawyers in the country. A pragmatic president that can take the NBA to the zenith. That's the kind of president we are looking up to.
Well, I'm expecting a president that will steer the bar to, greater heights, that would aid the bar in evolving into a bar that would match international standards. And already Nigerian lawyers are doing very well for themselves, but we need to not pat ourselves at the back and take legal practice to another level, to a level where there's specialization, to a level where, you know, lawyers are really the social engineers they should be. So I'm expecting a president that will steer us forward in that direction.
The Nigerian Bar Association at this point is expecting to have a president who will lead the new frontiers in the development of the bar in terms of making provision for the welfare of members. At this point in time, we need a president that will protect the professional integrity of the Nigerian Bar Association, that will uplift the professional integrity of the association, a president that that's quite innovative and will bring about ideas that will enhance the practice of members of the legal profession. At this time, we need a president who is not partisan in politics. We need a president who is firm, who is bold. We need a president who can confront issues and call a spade a spade. Because we're a professional body, we are not a political association. We continue to seek presidents that will enhance, protect, and promote the values of the legal profession.
Of course, 5 senior lawyers have declared their intention to contest the presidency at the polls, which have been scheduled for the 14th and 15th of July. There will be a lot more discussions in the days ahead on the guidelines for the polls. The office is up for contest, and we'll get some of the candidates to share their programs as we count down to the very important elections. If you want to be part of the discussions, tweet at me, send a mail, or Facebook post. Please use the hashtag #NBADecides. Also look for this and past episodes of the program on our YouTube page and leave your comments. I am Shola Sheyeli. Thank you for watching.